Howdy, my name is Nolan T. Painter, and in this video we're going to be discussing what it means to be submitted to by a woman and how to become a man that is worth submitting for. So, this whole idea comes from the Bible, and before you tell me it's sexist or outdated, allow me to explain. So, in the Bible it always says a woman must submit to a man, and we're familiar with that. But it also says something we're not as familiar with, and it says, just as Jesus does to the church, a man must die for his woman. And because of this, you got to realize and think, well, there's a responsibility from both parts. It's not like a woman just has to do something, both man and woman must commit to their fullest extent. And if you're sitting there still thinking it's sexist, even upon reversing the roles, saying a woman must die for the man, maybe it isn't. And maybe your thinking is the problem because you're trying to find reasoning for it despite having equal valuability. Or equal value. I don't think valuability is a word. But anyways, I digress. So, what I mean by this is such that a man, by dying for his woman, is sacrificing the greatest that he can. He's putting away all of his freedoms to put her on top of the priority list, knowing that she matters more to him than anything else, including his own life. And that is the greatest sacrifice for his man, to sacrifice his freedom. Now, for a woman, her greatest sacrifice is her independence, similar to the man's freedom. And especially in today's society where they're often told to be independent and to go achieve, girl, go, woman must sacrifice that and submit to the man, right? And this isn't a submit that you would typically think of. This is simply just being a loving and caring individual and putting him on her pedestal. So by caring for one another and putting each other as their priority, that is how they have a healthy relationship. So, for the man, the question is, how do you become a man that is worthy of submission from a woman, right? Because all men want a woman who's worth dying for, but it's not often that they ask themselves, how do I become this good man? So I have 7 things you must let go of and 7 things you must become in their place. Now, the first one's a given. You gotta let go of your lust. Hands down. That doesn't mean you can't be sexual and have romantic relationships, but they have to be in love, and they have to be with this person. Because if you're lustful, especially to other women, that's bad. You are not gonna have a healthy relationship and care for this person, be loving if you have lust. And I can confirm with that based on my own experiences, because lust will taint your love. You can love someone and care for them as much as possible, but the moment you start lusting beyond their love is the moment you start making things unhealthy, because you become obsessed and you crave things that are generally not healthy for you in the first place, right? Men typically struggle a lot with lust, but women can too. So in those moments where a woman or yourself are struggling with lust, what you need to do is to become honest. You talk with yourself and you say, lust is the only sin where I run away. You flee from lust. Unlike everything else where you fight it or face it, you flee from lust. So you must flee from it and be honest with yourself. But you also must be honest and address it with your partner. You set goals, not boundaries, right? If this is a true partner you wish to be with, instead of setting a boundary, you set a goal. You say, I'm not comfortable with this right now, or I'm not ready for this. This is something I would like to do with you in the future because I care for you. So maybe after this many dates or this many months or upon this great challenge that we will both face together, then we can try that. And then it'll be more fulfilling and more successful because you would have cared for it more out of love, and it would happen out of love and not a moment of lust. Because if you're lusting, you're craving something and not someone. Secondly, you must let go of your pride and become a leader. Now, how do you let go of pride and still be a leader? Well, the reality is, a good and a strong man leads in a relationship, but he must humble himself first and realize that he's often not correct. The reality is, most of the time, the women are correct. But as the man who chooses to make action and leads for the pact, he must adhere to what the woman says. He must listen, and listen attentively. But that also means he doesn't always have to abide by what she says, because sometimes she may make an error. But most importantly, he must abide by her and forget his pride. He must acknowledge that he can be wrong, and while he can be correct, she also can be correct. And he must find the best combination to abide by both himself and the woman in the healthiest way possible. That doesn't mean reject everything you believe. That means embrace what you believe and embrace what she believes, reject your pride, and through their combination of your beliefs, you will lead bravely and successfully. The third one is emotions. You must let go of your emotions. And this kind of ties into the pride, because pride is a significant emotion. So you must let go of your emotions. And in placement of your emotions, you must become masculine. A masculine man acknowledges his emotions, reconciles with them, and instead of forgetting them, as you may assume, he puts them to the side, acknowledging them and reflecting. But he doesn't let them drive the wheel, most importantly, right? It's too often where younger men nowadays will let their happiness or sadness or especially lust drive what they want. But the truth is, if you want to be a good man, a man that's worth submitting for, and you want a woman to love you, you need to be careful. Don't let your emotions drag you away. If you want to lead and be strong, you need to be masculine, right? Because you got to work on both of your ends, right? A good woman will do this too, but the average person is not emotionally intelligent enough to care for both themselves and account for you. So if you want to be a man worth submitting for, you need to account for each other. And you need to realize that as a masculine leader, you need to push your emotions away and acknowledge what is the factual truth to be a strong leader. Even sometimes pushing her emotions away to find what is best, right? Like the example of lusting, you must push her lust away to find what is best for the health. But as a woman as women are more emotionally in tune with themselves, you must be a bit careful. And you must realize that too. So being masculine isn't about being all tough. While it is tough, you must also be wise. And there's a lot of wisdom to be found in masculinity. As well, number 4, hasteness. You must let go of being haste. So being patient. And it is through this patience where you will be more wise, right? So why is patience so important? Why do you have to be so afraid of being too hasty? Well, relationships take time. And I, for one, can confirm it sucks to wait. It is horrible. Worst feeling ever. Right now, it is the most painful thing ever, going away for school and waiting. But they take time, because time adds value. If you wait longer for something, it can be valuable. If you realize and do it quicker, it could also be more valuable. You got to realize that, but be patient, because being patient builds wisdom, because you're getting experience and reflecting, right? And then you can use that wisdom to become more masculine and more and more and more. But you need to be patient, right? Again, set goals, right? Be wise, be caring, right? And be patient, right? By being too hasty, you can push for something that they're not ready for yet. And if your communication is not there, then that can turn out to be really poor. So you gotta be patient and learn to enjoy every moment, not just the best ones. As 5th, we have sloth. You gotta learn to let go of your sloth. And when people think of sloth, they think of laziness, and they think of the fat guy. But the reality is, you don't have to be fat to be lazy. There are some hard-working fat people. In fact, a lot of fat people who've gotten into shape are harder workers than people who've never been fat at all, right? So by losing your sloth, you are becoming a hard-working man, right? Which is a bit different from everything else, though it might seem similar. By being hardworking, you are taking every opportunity and just grabbing it and going at it as hard as you can. This means you're not sitting on the toilet on your phone, or you're not scrolling Instagram or looking at YouTube or whatever, or sleeping in. You get rid of all of that, and you spend every moment working hard. Work hard for her. Work hard for yourself. Work hard for God and everybody, right? You gotta work hard. You cannot be lazy and sit around, useless. Because a woman can tell when a man is lazy. She will attune and understand his schedule. And if your schedule is not filled with demanding work that she's impressed by, you are not a man worth submitting for. So find ways to work hard. Do anything. Do anything. Work for her father, right? Work for yourself. Work on a video. Work on a project. Work on something you're interested in. Just work on school. Study. Do something. Do push-ups. Go to the gym. Something. Work hard. You cannot be lazy. 6th, addictions. You must let go of your addictions and in place be disciplined. Now, when people think of addictions, they think of stuff like smoking, vaping, drinking, masturbation. But the reality is though those addictions are dangerous and they should be eliminated immediately, the truth is, when I'm talking about addictions, I'm referring to smaller habits, atomic habits, things you're used to, like sleeping in a little bit more, or scrolling when you go to the bathroom, or listening to music so you're not really focusing as much in class or at the gym, or even at the gym scrolling between sets, right? Or watching YouTube when you eat, or looking at your favorite YouTuber's video every day at the same time. Those are addictions. And you must remove those from your life and be disciplined. Stop watching YouTube. I know you do. I know at the same time, at the same day, every day, you watch your YouTuber post his video. You gotta stop. Because you're being lazy. And you're being impatient. Because you want to change, but you're not willing to put in the work. Because you're scared, because you have your emotions. And then that falls into line of everything else. You'll realize now that they're all really connected, and you need to be masters of all of these to be a good man. But you gotta let go of these addictions. And you gotta get rid of these habits and replace them with good, disciplinary-led habits. Because these habits, led by your discipline, will result in growth, and this discipline will help everything else. And finally, you gotta let go of your gluttony. Now, when people think of gluttony, again, they think of that fat guy, but the reality is anyone can be gluttonous. Even incredibly strong individuals, like ripped, jacked individuals, can be gluttonous. Because it doesn't matter how often you go to the gym and how good your workouts are. If you come home and you feed your body with shit, right? It will ruin you. To be not gluttonous, meaning being strong physically and mentally, which I'll get to in a moment, you need to know what you can feed yourself with, what's healthy, what are the impacts, and you gotta min-max it. Be as effective as possible. Be disciplined. But also mentally too. Because you can feed your body a lot of shit, but you can also feed your mind a lot of shit too. So feed your body and mind nutrients. This means not just eating well, but next time you're online, actually don't go online at all. Because everything online is a bunch of shit garbage. Everything online is horrible. You go on Instagram and relationship-wise, all you see are people saying, oh, your girl's gonna go to college and it's gonna be horrible. Or, oh, she did this or is cheating this. It's all drama. It's all nonsense. None of it's nutrients. If you want real nutrients for your mind, you need to reflect within and learn and build that wisdom through patience. You need to learn from people who are genuine, and you need to learn from family and real experiences and not go online, right? Now, granted, I am online, but I'm having a healthy dialogue and healthy conversation with you rather than going on Instagram. Even the positive relationship videos are bad. Because often I would send this person of mine relationship videos, even healthy ones. But I'm learning now, that was stupid of me, right? Why send a reel that says, oh, I love you so much, when I can just say it in person? This is garbage, right? In those moments, I should have just said things rather than sent them, if that makes sense. But that's everything. You need to let go of all of these things, right? Lust, pride, emotions, hasteness, sloth, addictions, and gluttony, and replace them with honesty, leadership, masculinity, wisdom, hardworking, being disciplined, and being strong both physically and mentally. If you can do all of these things in tandem and work hard, incredibly hard, then you could be a man that is worth submitting for. But if you lack in any of these categories, you will be dragged down and you will not be a man worth submitting for. And you will lose that opportunity to care for the one girl that you love so much. That is all. I would love to explore these in more detail, but they would take too long, so they deserve their own videos. My name is Nolan T. Painter. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.